So in my previous stream, which was my first stream, I started I started developing the order management system for this trading bot. And by order management, what I mean is if we have a strategy, um, we already have a strategy that gives us signals. Whenever we get a signal to buy a certain uh, crypto from that strategy, we need to have this engine that allows us to do this. We need to have the code that allows us to place the orders on the exchange and save them locally in the database. Save the fact that we placed an order on the exchange so that we have our own little state that we can manage. And after the initial order gets filled, we will have to place an exit order. So the idea behind this bot is you trade a bunch of pairs, a bunch of crypto pairs, say Ethereum against Bitcoin, this against Bitcoin, that against Bitcoin. It doesn't matter, but you select one coin that you want to maximize, and that can be Ethereum, Bitcoin, Binance coin, BNB, or whatever other coin that is a quote asset, whatever other coin that has a lot of things that trade against it. Most commonly Bitcoin because it's the most popular one and has the most pairs. So you select that coin, and then you select a bunch of other coins that you want to trade against that coin. You can even check the whole market. You can even check everything, all the pairs out there. And you need to have a strategy. We need to have a strategy. And for now, this strategy is based on technical analysis using some indicators such as Bollinger Bands or RSI or what have you. Um, yeah, that's good. Bollinger Bands, RSI, what have you. Um, and that strategy will contain some rules. For example, if the RSI just crossed over 70 and the price is above the moving average, the 20 period moving average, and what have you, you can basically put a lot of rules into this. If these things are true right now, then buy right now, buy that pair, buy that coin with Bitcoin right now. And once you've bought, um, and once that order was filled, because we basically, uh, there are two types of orders here. There's a limit order and a market order. Um, you might want to buy at the market price, but that might mean you pay a bit more. What happened? Yo, thank you, thanks for the follow, Lucho. Yeah, so uh, yeah, you might want to buy at market price, but again, that might you might pay a bit more, or you might want to buy at limit. You might want to place a limit order, and that means you were gonna specify the price at which you want to buy, but it's not 100% sure that that will happen. But if you specify the price close enough to the market order, then it's most likely that is more likely that that will happen. So anyway, uh, currently this bot runs on limit orders because that's somewhat safer. That's a somewhat more risk adverse approach. So basically, we place this buying order for that pair, let's say Ethereum BTC, let's say having that chart, the RSI just crossed up above 70 and the EMA is below the price right now. So we're in good shape, and we can place a buy order on Ethereum BTC. And we place the order at a price close to the market price right now. Once that order gets filled, um, we're then gonna have to then gonna have to strategize on our exit. And currently, it's very simple. Currently, we will either exit when the price of Ethereum has increased by a certain percent, or if it has decreased by a certain percent. In other words, that we exit either at the take profit stage or at a stop loss stage. We obviously want to exit at a take profit stage. Stop loss means we've lost some money on this trade, and stop loss just says, okay, that's the maximum amount you can lose. We won't go lower than that. So at this stage, we um, depending on whether we're more risk adverse or reward adverse, if that's even a thing, um, we'll place we'll let's say the way we currently do this is once we fill that order, we place a take profit order at say 1.5% above the price that we paid for that coin, and we leave it there. And every once in a while, we check whether that order was filled. Now, what we can do, because we can't really place both orders at the same time, well, we can. There is something called an OCO or order. One cancels the other. That's available on Binance, but it's I don't think it's available on all exchanges. So we can sort of fake this. We can sort of just implement it in our own bot, and basically we periodically check for the price, and if the price starts going lower, closer to our stop limit, then we're gonna cancel the take profit, and we're gonna place that stop limit order. And if the price keeps getting high towards the take profit, then we cancel the stop limit, and then we place the take profit order. So um, whatever is most likely to happen, we'll already have the order there to be fulfilled. Of course, this is not 100% risk free. If the market is very volatile, if our the range between the price and the take profit or stop loss, if they're not very wide, then we're not exactly gonna exit. We might not exactly exit at the limits that we set. But if our program constantly every second or every minute checks the markets, then whatever whatever limits we had in mind are most likely to happen. In my previous stream, which was my first stream, I started uh, this order management feature, this order management module of the trading bot, which basically handles all this, which basically um, when we receive a signal, it places the order, and it checks the markets, constantly checks the markets for the order to see when it was filled. And then when it was filled, it basically at this stage it only places the take profit order, and constantly checks for it to be filled. And when it's filled, good, we have one entry and exit order, and we've had a profit. The very next thing to be implemented is the stop loss order, and it's probably gonna be, as I said before, uh, periodically check the markets and see which order is more likely to happen, and based on that we place either this or that. So it's sort of dynamically placed. similar to an OCO order, but we implement it ourselves. We don't let that happen on the exchange because some exchanges might not have that. Right. So I wanted to go a little bit back, um, and I'll basically just kind of show you everything that we have here. This is PyJuke. Comes from Python, Juju Quantum Quantitative Engine. it's it's the name I gave to this open source project, and yeah. So I've implemented some things. First of which being um, an interface that can connect to Binance and that can place orders on Binance, cancel orders. You can connect your API keys to it, and that will show you that would allow this interface to connect to your exchange account and make orders on your behalf. We can also request market data and see what the state of the markets are, what the state of the market is, and and you can request data per symbol per pair. You can get the order book data of whatever symbol you want, and a bunch of other things that sort of have to do with the Binance exchange. And the idea is to implement this sort of interface for uh, most exchanges, for all exchanges out there. And and so I've also created a base class that sort of shows the functionality that each of these exchanges should. Uh, yeah. Anyway, um, if anyone is interested to contribute to this, um, I would be very happy. And just let me know. Reach me via the chat, Discord, Telegram, YouTube, whatever, email, whatever you can find. Okay, so this is the exchange. We also have a backtester, and the backtester simply backtests a strategy. It sees how your strategy would have performed in the past um, on whatever pair that you want to run it on. This backtester has a few features. It allows for stop loss. I mean, it tests as if you were to have had a stop loss, a trailing stop loss. Trailing stop loss is interesting because it's not a static stop loss, so no matter what your price does, the normal stop loss stays the same. But a trailing stop loss is as long as the price goes against your trend, against your direction, your desired direction, the stop loss stays the same. But as soon as the price goes in the opposite direction, the stop loss will always stay at um, a certain amount of percentage distance away from wherever the price is. So as long as it goes down, it's going to stay there, and then it goes up a bit. And once your price goes up and the stop loss is the difference between the price and the stop loss is more than, say, 3%, for example, then the stop loss will keep following the price, so that the maximum distance between the trailing stop loss and the price is that 3%. So in theory, this is a good feature, um, and of course it's all in the details. It's all in the numbers that you select, and so on and so forth. So this backtester allows for stop loss, allows for trailing stop loss, uh, and uh, and for a take profit as well. Um, yeah, and stop loss, trailing stop loss, subsequent entries as well, right? So say um, well, for example, these things might not go together, or they might go, but there's some way of correctly optimizing them. But a subsequent entry basically says, okay, you buy when you get a signal. Now, if the price goes against my direction, and say it goes 1% below the price I bought, then you buy again, right? Um, and then again, if it goes even lower, then you buy again. And this is sometimes known as dollar cost averaging. You buy, and then you buy lower and lower, so that the overall price that you paid is lower than the initial price that you paid. And obviously you don't want to keep doing this forever, so probably run this you only run this like a few times, a number of times, and then if it goes too low, then the stop loss will be initiated. And otherwise, um, you can, based on how many times you buy, you can either adapt that take profit or just leave it the same. It's up to you, it's up to the strategies, it's up to how we also implement this. But ideally, we would implement this in the way that would allow us to have whatever take profit we to be able to change that take profit based on the amount of times that we buy. So this feature is already implemented in the backtester, so we can see how a strategy would have performed in the past having this feature enabled. However, it is not developed in the actual bot itself, in the order management, and this is going to come later after the stop loss, as it's a very useful feature, I believe. Yes. Okay, let's see. What else? Baxter Binance models. So this is what we worked on last stream. We created this models. So following the model view controller architecture, so to speak, I'm building this bot, and the model is the way that individual entities are saved, are stored in the database. And currently we have three entities. We have an order, we have a pair, and we have a bot model. So the bot um, contains what pairs we're gonna run the bot on, what's the quote asset, what's the asset that we want to maximize, for example, Bitcoin, what's our starting balance, our current balance, the trade allocation, how much of the balance we allocate per trade. Is it 10%? Is it 50%? Is it 100%? The profit loss ratio of out of all of our trades, what's the profit loss ratio, and the profit target. So what percentage above our entry level do we want to exit at? This is what's contained in the bot. Yes, and indirectly what's contained in the bot as well is the pairs that are running on the bot, and the orders that were placed on each of those pairs. Now, a pair is simply the symbol that we sort of run this strategy on, and we can have multiple pairs on a bot, and it contains the symbol, the ID of the bot, its own ID, obviously, whether it's active or not. So at some points in time, we might not want to trade a certain pair. For example, if we just bought it, we might not keep looking for signals. We might wait to exit first before we look for signals again. The current order ID, that's because each pair will have multiple orders. So current order ID is what's the current order of this pair. And profit loss, again, the overall profit loss for this particular pair. This is useful just as an analytics, just as a just for data analytics, for us to know later on if we want to run some analytics, which or if we want to show this in a user interface, to see which pairs were the most profitable. We can maybe sort them based on profitability and whatnot. And then order, which as I said, for each pair you have multiple orders, and board ID symbol, timestamp when the order was placed, entry price, take profit price and stop loss price, original quantity and executed quantity. This initially the original quantity will be whatever the quantity of that pair that you wanted to buy, and then the executed quantity at the beginning is going to be zero, because unless you place a market order, when you place a limit order, first is going to be zero, and then hopefully it's going to get filled and it's going to be the same as original quantity. Status of the order: was it filled, was it canceled, is it new, still waiting to fill, partially filled, etc. The side, whether it's a buy or sell, and is entry, whether it's an entry order or an exit order, right? Entry or exit, depending on what kind of luck you had in that particular instance. Whether it's closed, so once an order was filled, we can count it as closed. And the matched order ID. So as I said, right now, the way the bot is developed, we only have each order will have its pair, right? Entry and exit, right? Um, Subsequently, we'll have maybe multiple entries and a single exit, or multiple exits. But for now, it's just entry and exit. So the matched order ID is whether you are an entry or an exit, is the ID of the opposite side, right? And when you just place the entry order, you won't have any matched order ID until you get to place the exit order. Yeah. And whether it's a test order or not. So and this is for the bot as well. Test run. We can run this in simulation mode, or we can actually run it on live. And in simulation mode, we would not actually place the orders on the exchange, but we would locally in our database, we would save the orders as if they were placed on the exchange. And then instead of checking whether those orders are filled with the exchange, we check what happened to the market since the moment that we placed that order. And based on what happened to the market, then we can deduce whether it would have been filled or not. So is test is sort of just a flag telling us that whether this was an actual order or not. And having a simulation environment is very useful, because backtesting can give you some sort of direction as to whether your strategy has any potential to it or not. But actually forward testing it, running it live, it's gonna give you a lot better, uh, a lot more accuracy. It's gonna tell you a lot more accurately whether this strategy has any potential or not. Besides this, uh, we also wrote we started writing this order management logic, right? And the logic it follows quite simple steps. Basically, you have a bot, and each bot again will have a number of pairs, and you have a strategy. So what you do is, you first step, take all the pairs of that bot which are currently active. Um, in the beginning, that will be all the pairs, and once you start placing orders, some of the pairs will become inactive, for a while until those orders are filled and their subsequent exit orders are filled as well. But in the beginning, all the pairs will be active. So step one, we get all the active pairs. Step two, for each pair, we do one, we check whether the strategy is fulfilled, and if it's not fulfilled, we're good. If it is fulfilled, then we place an order. We place an entry order, and that order is based on sort of this, sort of the. Well, for now, that order is just it's a limit order that is placed at the price very near to the market price, and soon we might have some more sophisticated rules here. Excuse me. For example, we might say, okay, when you get a signal, don't place the order exactly on the market price. Place it just a tiny bit below or a tiny bit above if you have a large volume order and you really want it to be filled. Or place market order or limit order, what have you. We can go deeper into this and develop more interesting features here. So yes, if the strategy was fulfilled, uh, and place that entry order. Next, for the same bot, get all the orders that were placed on this bot that are not already closed. So get all the orders that haven't been closed. And by closed, I mean they haven't been filled uh, yet, to up to our knowledge. They might again. Excuse me, these orders, they might have been filled on the exchange, but in our database they haven't been filled yet because the database doesn't directly communicate with the exchange. This controller, this function will communicate with the exchange and check whether that order was fulfilled, and if it was fulfilled, then we also change the status of that order in our database. But until that happens, for us the order counts as not fulfilled. And we check the status of the order with the exchange, and if the order was fulfilled, it's either an entry order or an exit order. If it was an entry order, then we want to place on the exchange the its matching order, the exit order, right? And for now, we just place that matching order at a take profit. So we haven't implemented the stop loss. And if it was not an entry order, if it was an exit order, then we're good. We've placed an entry or an exit, and the exit was fulfilled, and that means that we're in profit, and we can resume trading on this pair, right? On the pair of this order. Because if it was an entry order, then we place the equivalent exit order. Then that pair is for now that pair stopped. We've stopped trading on that pair. Okay, so again, 4 steps: retrieve all the pairs, uh, check signals on those pairs, check the strategy on those pairs, and if the strategy is being fulfilled on any of those pairs, place an order on that pair. Then check all the open orders in our bot, and if they're fulfilled, you might place a match of that order if the order was fulfilled. And yes, and that's it. So this is the whole idea behind execute bot. And just quickly going, try entry order. So this thing, this takes the data from the exchange, and this sets up the strategy, meaning this um, computes the indicators on the newly received data from the exchange, and then this checks the buy signal on the very last candle of this data. And if the buy signal is true, is correct, then we place an order. We place a buy order. We have here a way of calculating the quantity, and once we place order, so this initial placing the order, this saves the order in our database. Second is you check whether is we're running it in test mode or live mode. And if we're running it in test mode, we're just gonna assume that the order was placed successfully on the exchange. If we're running it in live mode, we're actually gonna place an order on the exchange. So this is what does that. It actually places the order, and and here then we check whether that order was correctly placed on the exchange. Again, if we're in simulation mode, then we made it look such that it was a success. And if it's in live mode, then we're actually gonna check, and if it was successfully placed, then we can update the bot to change the current balance to a bit less, because we just placed with some we just took some of that balance to place this order. And we're gonna update the order model based on what we received from the exchange, and we're gonna deactivate this pair for now. We're gonna stop trading on this pair. And this is the second step. And then this is the fourth step, having all the orders. um, if an order was a test order, it means it wasn't actually placed on the exchange. We just saved it in our database. Because of that, we're gonna have to simulate the market happening, right? We're gonna have to simulate what happened to the market. So we're gonna get the past 50 candles of 5-minute interval, and we're gonna look only at those candles that happened after the time that we placed the order, and we're gonna see whether that the price dipped a bit below our order price, right? Or a bit above if it's a sell order. So we're gonna see whether in real life that order would have been fulfilled. Very simply put. That's if it's a test order. But if it's an actual, if we actually placed the order on the exchange, then we're just gonna ask the exchange, hey, was this order filled? Basically, or actually we're gonna ask, hey, what's the status of this order? And it's gonna tell us. And so if that order has been filled, then if it was an entry order, then we're gonna place an exit order. This place an exit order in our own local database. If it's a test run, we're not gonna send it to the exchange. If it's not a test run, we're actually gonna send it on the exchange. Then we're gonna check whether the exchange given us a valid response, and if it did, then we're gonna update the order based on that response. We're gonna close the previous order, and yes, that's it. That's it. Um, in 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 general, that's it. And if the order was canceled, well, we're just gonna resume trading on this pair. And yeah, it's not ideal right now, but it's just a start. Normally, if the order were to be canceled, what we would want to do is, if it's an entry order that was canceled, if we didn't buy any of that coin, then we're good. But if we did buy some of that coin, then we would we'll try to find a way to sell it, so that we're not holding that, unless we really want to. So anyways, this is the very basic version of this order management engine. And we have a few strategies as well. So the idea was to create some sort of a template in which we could sort of put all these technical analysis based strategies. And the template was, you have this class, you call it whatever you want strategy, and then you give it the variables that can change. For example, if if you want your strategy to contain the RSI and the Bollinger bands, you might want to allow for flexibility as to what you choose those parameters. For example, the length of the RSI it's not necessarily always going to be the same, right? Maybe you want to interchange that, and also the length of the RSI. Sorry, of the Bollinger Bands, and also what's the level in RSI, for example, what do you consider overbought and oversold? Most people do 30/70, but you might change those numbers as you see fit, as you think your strategy would work out. So yeah, that's the initialization function. You initialize these parameters, right? Then in the setup function, you give this class whatever data that you got from the exchange. It can be the latest data, it can be historical data. You give it and you compute the indicators on it, right? You compute the Bollinger Band and the RSI in our example. And there's a function that does that. Is right here. I'm not going to go into that right now. Um, um, and then you have a check buy signal and check sell signal. So most of the time, well, not most of the time, but this bot so far only buys on buy signals and sells. We haven't implemented the selling part on signal. Selling only happens so far at X% above the buying price. But obviously, a lot of strategy is exit on sell signal. So, for example, the crossover, one crossover, like when you have EMAs crossing over, when the fast goes above the slow, I think that's a buy signal, and then when the slow goes above the fast, that's a sell signal, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of strategies actually use sell signals. So in the near future, we're going to implement the sell signal in the order management as well. But for now, in the strategy, it still appears. So buy signal and sell signal. In this case, the buy signal says if the RSI is above the oversold level, if the current RSI and the RSI of the previous candle, I-1, was below the oversold signal. So that means if during this candle, it just crossed over the sell signal. Sorry, the oversold level. So those two, and as well, if the opening price of this candle is below the lower Bollinger Band. This is just some sort of basic strategy, right? Might be a good strategy. You might want to check it out. Free strategies. Here you go. Yeah. So if those three things happen, so if the RSI just crossed over the oversold and the lower Bollinger and the price is below the lower Bollinger bands, then you can place a buy. Then return true, meaning that that's a sell signal. That's a buy signal. Sorry. And the sell signal is opposite. If RSI just crossed below the overbought level and the close is above the upper Bollinger bands, then that's a sell signal in this case. So this is the gist of the template. We also have get buy signals list and get sell signals list, which what it does, it goes through the whole data frame and checks at every point whether there were buys and sell signals, and then it returns them to you. And this is useful when we want to do back testing. We're just going to get all those signals and then compute the profits from those things. And one last function is return the indicator. So this is more for plotting purposes. When we want to plot, we might also want to plot the indicators just to see how it looks like. So I'm going to return a dict containing those indicators: the name of the indicator, RSI, the title, and what axis it's going to be on axis. This is all customizable. We're using Plotly for plotting, which is a really nice library, I think. So this is the template of our strategies. Now to illustrate how this thing works, the order management, I've created an always buy strategy, which basically always buys. It doesn't have any indicators. The setup is simple, doesn't compute anything. It buys when the low is below the close of of um, of uh, of a candlestick. The lowest price is below the close, and it sells when the closest close price is above a low. So basically, all the time, except for when the close is actually low, that it doesn't buy then. But that's not the point. The point is something that we can see how it works in real life, that we can run something on right now. And okay, and so yeah, I just wanted to show you how this looks like, how this works. This file that can we can try the order management. Uh, try management is called, and we just we try the functionality. So you SQL alchemy for the models, and using this this database. I'll open it to show it to you. Oh, it might not work. That's fine. Fine. Basically, we've initialized the database. We've created a bot called testbot3. The code asset is Bitcoin. Starting balance is 1 Bitcoin. Current balance is 1 Bitcoin. Profit target is 2, so 2% above the buy price. And test run is true because we're just gonna run this in simulation mode. So and I also don't have 1 Bitcoin. So I've created this bot object and I've added it to the session, to the database. Then I've created two pairs, ETH BTC and BNB BTC. So basically we're gonna check whatever strategy we're running. We're gonna check the strategy on these two pairs, and we also added them to the database session, and we've committed them. So this was the initializing function. I've called it once, so I don't need to call it again. The database is already initialized. In fact, let me. Yeah, I'll get to that in 1 second. So the main class basically just gets a session, gets a database session. So it gets this database app.db that is available here, where you read here, has bot, order, and pair. So it gets this database. It gets the bot called testbot3 out of the database, and then it creates an exchange object interface, Binance. And then while true, so in an infinite loop, we're gonna execute the bot. We have this session, the database session, we have the bot, we have the exchange, and we have the strategy. Always buy strategy. So basically it's gonna buy every time, most of the times. So I've also written some print statements, so we can actually see where we are with this in the running itself. Okay, 57. Oh yeah, sorry. I thought I tested this before. From bot dot exchanges dot Binance import Binance. There you go. Yeah, this wasn't imported. Okay. Oh, interesting. So I actually run this before. I ran this code, and it placed an order, right? Because it always places orders. And right now, it shows me that the order was filled. So that order that was placed before was filled, and now it's trying to place an exit order, and it's getting an error on exit order. So Order dot entry price. Both dot profit target. Order dot entry price. Okay, why is that? No. All right. So now I'm gonna do what I said that I would do before.